You know, when we think about these huge literary movements, we always remember the famous names, right? But behind every big star, there are often these unsung heroes, the people who connect everyone, who champion new ideas, and who really make things happen. Today, we're going to talk about one of the most important and maybe one of the most overlooked figures of the entire Romantic era. So let's picture this. You've got these absolute titans of poetry, the passionate Lord Byron, the brilliant John Keats. We tend to think of them as these lone geniuses, just forging their own paths. But what if I told you they all shared a secret connection, a single common thread that was absolutely crucial to their success? Yep, it all comes down to one man. One single, incredibly influential person who was at the very center of their world, acting as a mentor, a publisher, and a friend to a whole generation of literary superstars. And that man's name was Leigh Hunt. He was an English poet, an essayist, and an editor. But honestly, he was so much more than that. In a lot of ways, he was the beating heart of the Romantic movement. He wasn't just a member of the club, he was the one who built the clubhouse. So how did one guy have so much influence? Well, he had a platform, a massive one. Hunt founded a magazine called The Examiner, and it was a total game changer. Through its pages, he could shape what people were thinking, push for social change, and, this is the big one, he could introduce groundbreaking new poetry to the public. I mean, this guy wore so many hats. He was this sharp-eyed editor who could spot talent a mile away. He was a mentor to younger poets like Keats, really guiding them. He was a tireless promoter of his friends' work. And all of this was built on his deep passion for social reform. He wasn't just a writer. He was a true kingmaker. And that's the thing you've got to remember. It's so crucial. Without Leigh Hunt and his publications, the roads of fame for so many Romantic poets would have been incredibly difficult, if not impossible. He was their megaphone, their bridge to the public. He made sure people were actually listening. And get this was not an easy path. He was taking huge personal risks. His views were considered extremely radical for the time, and he faced serious consequences for them. I'm talking actual political persecution. This wasn't just a hobby for him. He was willing to suffer for what he believed in. But here's the other side of the story. Hunt wasn't just the man behind the scenes. No way. He was a really gifted poet in his own right, and his creative work is known for this incredible warmth and this really deep sense of optimism. And wow, the guy had range. Just take a look. In The Story of Rimini, he's tackling this intense story of tragic love. A couple years later, with Foliage, he's diving into the pure sensory experience of nature. And then later on, he's exploring his love of Italian art and history. It's clear he was just an endlessly curious creator. Let's just zoom in on one of those for a second to really get a feel for his style. His 1818 collection, Foliage, is a perfect window into his world. And this right here, this is the core of his poetry. For Hunt, nature wasn't just some pretty background. It was alive, and it was deeply tangled up with our own human emotions. Reading his work feels like you're stepping into this world that's just brimming with feeling, where the rustle of a leaf could mean just as much as a human sigh. So when you step back and look at Leigh Hunt, you see this amazing dual legacy. He was this significant poet who made his own mark, absolutely, but he was also the tireless champion who helped shape an entire movement by lifting everybody else up. His impact, then, is just undeniable. He helped shape the entire Romantic movement. He championed its biggest stars. And he left behind his own legacy of poetry that celebrates warmth, nature, and individuality. The man left a huge mark on English literature. And all this leaves us with a really fascinating question to think about. How do we measure a legacy? Is it about the art a person creates themselves? Or is it about the other artists they inspire? In the case of Leigh Hunt, who was both a creator and a catalyst, the beautiful thing is we don't have to choose.